Hey everybody, JC here with another TNI toy review, and for today's review we're going to take a look at the new Game of Thrones Legacy Collection 6-inch Jaime Lannister figure from Funko Toys. Now this figure comes packaged in very standardized window box packaging, similar to what we saw on the first wave of this line as well as the second wave, which this figure is part of. You've got the Game of Thrones Legacy Collection logo up at the top along with the number 7. This is the 7th figure to be released in the line. Then you have the figure clearly displayed in the window box packaging, and then down below you have a symbol for the family crest of the Lannisters and the name of the character. And in the bottom right corner it tells us that this figure is for people ages 17 and older, basically due to the adult content that the figure is based on. On the back of the packaging we have again the Game of Thrones Legacy Collection logo up at the top, along with an image of the character from the TV show. And then down below that again the name of the character. Off to the left side we have a listing of all the figures in Series 2. And then finally down at the bottom we have the HBO logo, the Powered by Gentle Giant Studios logo, since they helped with the making of this figure, and the Funko Toy logo. Okay, so let's get this figure open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging. Now this version of the Jaime Lannister character is in his Kingsguard outfit with the armor and chainmail. I really like the detailing on the armor, on his chest armor, with the sculpted designs on it. I think that came out looking really good. I also like the sculpting with the chainmail on his arms and his shoulder pads. I think that's really nice looking, as well as the skirt piece that goes over his legs. That's again a flexible vinyl material, so it doesn't really restrict too much the movement of the legs, which is nice. He's got some nice wash effect on the pants, giving it kind of a almost used dirt type look, so it's not too clean looking. He's also wearing a cape of with a similar wash on it, and again that's a very flexible material. The cape itself is actually longer than the figure, so you do have to kind of prop it out a little bit to get him to stand. He also comes with a sheath that's not removable, but it's attached with little vinyl pieces from the belt, so there's movement there on the sheath. You want to be careful not to pull on it too hard, because you could probably pull it off. The only thing I don't really like about the figure is I don't think they did a very good job with the face likeness on this one to the actor that the figure is based on. I don't really see Jaime Lannister when I look at this face. It does have some nice detailing on the face with the hair, shading on the hair, and he's got some 5 o'clock shadow. It's not a bad looking head sculpt, it just to me doesn't really look like the actor. Okay, so the figure comes with one accessory, his sword, and there's some nice detailing on the sword. The handle is done in a gold paint, shiny metallic paint at the top where there's a lion's head sculpted on it, matching the crest for the Lannister family. And so it's nice detailing. There's also some silver mixed in, and when you're looking at the sword from the top, it almost kind of has a glistening effect to it, almost like maybe if it were diamonds or something. I don't know if that's supposed to be that way, but I thought it was kind of cool. The blade itself is just silver. There's not really any wash effect, no blood on the blade or anything like that, very clean. The sword fits nicely in the sheath that is attached to the figure. So I think it looks pretty good with the sword in the sheath like that. The figure's hands are sculpted open so you can hold the sword in either hand. Now one thing I do want to note though, on my particular figure at least, on both hands, the thumb was actually attached to the finger, so it was not able to get it separated enough to get him to hold his sword. So I actually had to take a little knife and kind of it looked like maybe the paint had sealed the thumb and the fingers, and so I had to take a little knife to kind of cut that so that there was separation between the thumb and the fingers so that he could hold his sword. But once I did that, I was able to get the sword in his hand, either hand, without any problem. I don't know. I don't think the thumb is really supposed to be attached to the fingers like that. So that's just something to be wary of when you're opening your figure and trying to get him to hold the sword. Okay, so the figure stands at about 6¼ inches tall. He's pretty much the same height as the Drago figure that we looked at yesterday, which is also part of the second wave of Game of Thrones figures from Funko. He's a little bit shorter than the Ned Stark figure from Wave 1. I don't recall for sure, but I would almost have thought that these two would have been about the same height. So I can't say for sure if that's accurate, that Jaime Lannister is taller than Ned or not. I just don't really recall. And then here he is next to his brother, Tyrion, who obviously is definitely shorter than his brother. And then finally, here he is next to the Hound, which of course is probably the biggest figure released in the line so far, and definitely the Hound is taller than Jaime. So articulation on this figure is pretty standard with what we've come to expect from this Game of Thrones line. However, some of his articulation is restricted due to the pieces of the armor and skirt pieces on his legs. But we'll go over it real quick here. His head is on a standard ball joint, so he can look left and right. He has a little bit of up and down movement, but not a whole lot. The arms are attached with your standard ball hinge joints. However, because of the armor shoulder pads, he can't really get his arm out too much. So he's got some restricted movement there. There's no bicep swivel. Single hinged elbow, so he can bend his elbow about that much. And then he's got swivel at the wrist with the hinge at the wrist. So he's got the up and down movement at the wrists. He has a swivel at the waist, but not really anything as far as an ab crunch. You can rock it back and forth a little bit there at the waist, but not too much. Legs are attached with ball joints, but again, because of the skirt pieces, it does limit how much you can do the legs outwards. You can get his legs outward about that much. And then also forward, you can get the leg out forward pretty good, but you can't do it out back too much. That's about as far back as you can get the leg. He does have a thigh swivel. He's got the double jointed knees, so he does have good bending at the knee. He has, and then he's got the ankle pivots with the hinge there at the ankle. So he does have good movement at the ankles. No peg holes on the bottom of his feet. Okay, so that's my review. Overall, I really like the detail on the body of this figure with the chainmail and the armor and everything. I think that came out looking really good. My only real complaint with the figure is I don't think the face likeness is that true to the actual actor from the TV show. I don't think the head sculpt is bad looking, I just don't think it looks that close to what the actor looks like in the show. But otherwise, I think this is a really nice looking figure. No real quality control issues that I've had with it other than the problem with the thumb and the fingers being attached, but that wasn't terribly difficult to remedy with a knife. Just be careful if you have to do that. But otherwise, I think it's a good figure. If you've been collecting this line, I think you'll definitely want to add this one to your collection. It is hitting shelves now. Best place to find these I found is Barnes & Noble, but they should be available at other retailers as well. And that's my review. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of the face sculpt. Do you think it looks like the actor? And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And until next time, I'll catch you later.